Her name was Miss Westray. She would take her shoe off and throw it across the room at you if you weren't paying attention and misbehaving and that kind of stuff. And yeah, she was a crazy woman. But she was bent that we were going to memorize that thing. And it's just two sentences, but it's packed full of a statement, a plan, an objective. It says, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. There's 5 things in there, 5 objectives. Number 1, they want to establish justice through this Constitution. They want to ensure domestic tranquility. Y'all see the police officers riding up and down the road now, right? Provide for the common defense. It's our military. Promote the general welfare. I don't think they necessarily meant socialism there. Just saying. Secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Secure the blessings of liberty. That means hold fast to them. Make sure they're secure now and always forever. Amen. I think it's important for us to think about our freedom. And the people that wrote this up, they just wrote it up over a few days' time. This preamble to the Constitution. They got together and they discussed it and they talked about it and they argued about it and talked about it some more and wrote it down and erased and rewrote it. And they didn't erase because they didn't have erasers then. They struck through and rewrote. These guys were passionate about what they were about to do. And what they were about to do in writing that Constitution, they were about to put their name on a hit list from the King of England. They were sticking their necks out, quite literally. They were about to get themselves hanged when they wrote this down. And folks, they wrote it down for you. Almost just a few days shy, 250 years ago, they wrote it down. Some of these guys were mixed up about who Jesus was, and many of them were not. They still wrote it down. And they wrote it down based on what God's Word tells us. If you're reading the book of Amos, you'll find out that God didn't like injustices at all. He didn't like it. He didn't like the way things were going with the injustices. So we're going to go to 1 Samuel, chapter 8, we're going to start with verse 1. I want us to think about a little bit this morning God's attitude towards dictatorship and kingship. Y'all ready? When Samuel, remember us talking about Samuel last week? He was a little boy that got dedicated to the temple and service of God. Okay, this same Samuel, same guy, just a few chapters later. When Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons as Israel's leaders. The name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second was Abijah. And they served at Beersheba. After this, but his sons did not follow his ways. They turned aside after dishonest gain and accepted bribes and perverted justice. So all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. And they said to him, "You are old, and your sons do not follow your ways. Now appoint a king to lead us, such as all the other nations have." But when they said, "Give us a king to lead us," this displeased Samuel. So he prayed to the Lord. And the Lord told him, "Listen to all that the people are saying to you. It is not you they have rejected, but they have rejected me as their king, as they have done from the day I brought them up out of Egypt until this day, forsaking me and serving other gods. So they are doing to you. Now listen to them, but warn them solemnly, and let them know what the king who will reign over them will claim as his rights." And Samuel told all the words the Lord of the people who were asking him for a king. He said, "This is what the king who will reign over you will claim as his rights. He will take your sons, make them serve with his chariots and horses, and they will run in front of his chariots. Some he will assign to be commanders of thousands and commanders of 50s, and others to plow his grounds and reap his harvest, and still others to make weapons of war and equipment for his chariots. He will take your daughters to be perfumers and cooks and bakers. He will take the best of your fields and vineyards and olive groves and give them to his attendants. He will take a tenth of your grain and of your vintage and give it to his officials and attendants. Your male and female servants and the best of your cattle and donkeys he will take for his own use. He will take a tenth of your flocks, and you yourselves will become his slaves. When that day comes, you will cry out for relief from the king you have chosen. But the Lord will not answer you in that day." But the people refused to listen to Samuel. "No," they said, "we want a king over us. Then we will be like all the other nations, with a king to lead us and to go before us and fight our battles." When Samuel heard all that the people said, he repeated it before the Lord. The Lord answered, "Listen to them, give them a king." Then Samuel said to the Israelites, "Everyone go back to your own town." I want to start in this passage with the last verse. God is a patient God, and he will allow us to make mistakes. He'll let those mistakes consume us so that we learn who he is, just so we'll look at him. In Galatians 5:1, as we read before, it says, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." If you read that entire chapter and the next chapter, you'll see that Paul was writing in the book of Galatians to people saying, "Look here, y'all can focus on what you think you can do that better. You can focus on your sins and all that kind of stuff, but when it comes down to it, Jesus is the only king. And he set you free. Not so you would be free to just do whatever willy-nilly stuff you want to do. He set you free as to live like you were grateful that you were free, and that you would try to pass that on to somebody else. I'm here to say to America, God set us free in this nation with a purpose. He had a purpose for this nation. And right now we're like the most influential nation on the planet. There's a reason for that, because of what those men believe, what those men wrote down, the culture that those people created for us. They created that culture for us, one that would stand, one that would live, based on the fact, based on the stipulation that we follow God, that we follow His standards. That's what they wrote it down for. It says when that Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons as leaders. And he gives the name of his first and second born. And it says in verse 3 of chapter 8, but his sons did not follow his ways. It is easy, as we just established a while ago, it is easy over time to forget. Like that woman drilled that preamble in my head. She drilled it over and over and over. We all had to stand in front of the class and try to quote it every day for a couple of months. And you weren't excused from doing it until you finally got it right 2 or 3 times. She was bent on it. But it's easy to let things slip. Samuel was dogmatic about his walk with God. But over time, somewhere along the way, his sons, who are obviously old enough to become judges of Israel, somewhere along the way, they lost it. They lost it. They started looking at themselves and what could they gain? What can we gain out of our position in life? Are we not bending that way a little bit? I think we're bending that way a whole lot. I frequently hear, how can this person play this system to gain $1 to make life better for them? Not for everybody else, for them alone. People do that now. Has anybody heard people doing that? Figuring out how they can get this funding and that funding for this thing. My fingers hurt. I need funding for that. You know, that kind of stuff. I'm being sarcastic, but really, people finding all kind of crazy ways to get on disability when there's other people who really need it and can't get it because the system's so milked, because our attitude has gotten to where you owe me. And if I can get it, I'm going to get it. That's where his sons had gone. They were using their position in life to gain. And the whole nation was starting to get bent that way too, where they were forgetting. They were forgetting slowly but surely. I mean, they were the nation, they were the people of a God who had parted the waters of the Red Sea. He had drowned an entire army. He fed their families for 40 years in a wilderness. He fed them right out the sky, gave them meat and manna, gave them water from a rock. He took care of them. Even in their rebellion, he still took care of them. And they were forgetting. They crossed the Jordan River and it got backed up so they could cross it. They did a crazy thing, walked around a city 7 times, all that stuff, the walls fall down, and they didn't have to touch anything. Their families saw it happen, but somewhere along the way, they forgot. I think we as a nation, we're starting to forget. You don't believe it. Watch the news today. Go watch one of the national famous news broadcasts. You will hear something about socialism. You will hear something about socialism. About socialism. Goes along. Forgetting will cause us to seek a new way of doing things. It says, so all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. And they said to him, you're old and your sons do not follow your ways. Now appoint a king to lead us, such as all the other nations have. Some of these folks you hear about who are socialists that are running for office, and miraculously somehow these nuts are electing them. What they want is what all the other nations do. So they say. I'm telling you, what they want is for us to turn our back on God and look at their God instead. And I'm telling you that they're mistaken in that we already got our own gods floating around here. We got idol this and idol that. We got idols running out of our ears. We don't need Mohammed too to be turning our back on God. I'm not saying all y'all in this room done turned your back on God. But I believe that we need to be mindful, and America starts in this room just like it does anywhere else. We're just as much American as anybody. And we need to be reminded. When we begin to envy others and what they have, let me back up. Forgetting will cause us to seek a new way of doing things, and we will begin to envy others and what they have. We will begin, the grass is always greener syndrome. You know, we've heard it. We start envying other people. But see, Samuel remembered what the original plan of God was. He had told them, there's one God, and that's me. Samuel remembered what the original plan was, because it says, when they said, give us a king to lead us, this displeased Samuel. So he went to his king and prayed. And when we reject his principles and his promises, things are not going to go well. And it's demonstrated in this passage. The Lord told Samuel to listen to what all the people were saying. It is not you they have rejected, it's me. It's God. They rejected God. They rejected him as their king. One thing our nation was founded upon was Christian, Judeo-Christian values, right? I keep hearing that over and over. And if we're founded on that, there's one thing that we had the freedom to do, and you all are sitting in this room upon that freedom as I speak this morning. And somebody died to give you that freedom. And that is freedom of religion. We have that freedom. Nobody's going to come in here and take me to jail for it yet. Y'all keep voting that way and I won't be able to. It's our nature to be rebellious. It is our nature. And It says in 8:8, as they serve another god, so they are doing it. Know what the king who will reign over them enough to warn us. Could have just said, I ain't even talking to you. We still got the word, and it will make a claim on your life. Is Jesus your king today? I'm asking, is he your king? Because if he's not, you will have a king. You will have a king, and it will make a claim on your life. And it will claim your entire life. All of your being, your tangible stuff, and everything on the inside of your heart. A king other than Jesus will make a claim on your life. And it says that Samuel told them, he said, this is what the king who will reign over you will claim as his rights. He will take your sons and make them serve with his chariots and horses, and they will run in front of his chariots. He's going to make your sons drivers of his limousines, of his government-owned transit system. He's going to make your sons do whatever it means to make your road network go. That's what he's going to do. Your king is going to own your boys. Number one, it said in here, I put this note. Some will be forced to serve in unjust wars. Noah's particularly close to this, because this is where his family came from, was Cuba. What is in Cuba? What's in Cuba? It's a dictatorship, right? Okay, you can slice that how you want. Some might say a king and a dictator's two different things, but it ain't. It ain't. And here's what happened. These people, now the U.S. had a big blunderous mess there, and what helped actually caused Castro to get in power anyway. That was a bunch of stupidity. But the fact is that Castro became, what did he call himself? Socialist? He called himself socialist, right? Okay, he was the king of Cuba. I'm pretty sure he's dead now, right? So now he knows who the true king is for sure. But I'm here to tell you what had happened was those people of that nation became warriors and things and had to fight and do stuff they didn't want to do. They didn't want to do it, but they were forced to. Here's what else happened. Some will be forced to work on socialist farms. Y'all know Cuba used to produce lots of sugar cane. I reckon they do. I don't know now. But they used to have just acres and acres and acres of farms. They produced a lot of stuff. Castro owned all that. Once he took over, Castro owned it. Some will be forced to work in factories that are not owned by anyone but the king. Now, they could say the government owned it and all that. Look at Russia and the USSR in its day. People lost their family farms. People lost it. The government took it. Stalin took their land away from them. And he made government farms, and then he took the sons and daughters and made them go work for it, whether they were dentists or whatever. If he decided they were going to go be farmers, that's what they did. Y'all, the same thing's happening in China still. They took it. They took it and made it government. Why? For good common cause. Some will be forced to work in factories that are not owned by anyone but the king. See, where I work now, somebody owns that. If you work in one of these big factories, maybe in Orangeburg or Columbia or wherever, Greenville, a bunch of people own those, but it's not owned by the government. That kind of king, he owns it. What they make, they'll make for him at his whim, at his desire. He said some he will assign to be commanders of thousands and commanders of fifties, and others to plow the ground and reap his harvest, and still others will make weapons of war and equipments for his chariots. Everything you make, everything you do, from every direction, what will happen is you will work for the king. Putting this on a more spiritual level, just on a personal level, if Jesus ain't your king, somebody is. Something is your king. You are designed and created to have a king. And if Jesus ain't your king, something is. And it will own you. It will change everything you do and how you do it and why you do it. It'll do it on and on and on and on until the end of your natural life. It says he will take your daughters to be perfumers and cooks and bakers. Okay, that's nice language. What he's saying is, he going to take your daughters and do whatever he wants to with your daughters. Y'all, we got freedom. We got freedom in this country, and there's a purpose, there's a plan. Right now, we have religious freedom. We have the ability. I didn't have to sneak here today to have a religious meeting with you, and I have the freedom to go share the gospel of Jesus Christ with anybody, anywhere, anytime. I can do that. I'm obligated to do that. Somebody died for that reason, to give me that purpose, that plan. So whenever we celebrate the July the 4th weekend, it's not about barbecue and beans and beer. That's not what it's about. It's about grown people that decided, no, I want my great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren to have freedom away from a king who is burdening us and telling us who and how and where we can worship. Y'all do know that happened a lot in the nation of England. Depending on which king was in charge at the time, depending on whether you was Protestant or Catholic, Church of England, whatever. Whatever that king decided or queen decided they liked, that's what they did. And you would be persecuted if you did otherwise. We live in a nation that is great enough to allow Islamists to go do their thing. It's kind of strange, but we still allow it. Because if we don't, then we're no different. But here's what we don't have to allow. We don't have to allow Islamic values and teachings seep into our hearts and our thoughts. We don't have to allow that. If God's in control of your life, you don't have to allow that. It said, I got a note here. Your lands will be taken from you and given to the king. You will not own your own business. What you do have, he will take what he wants and keep to keep his bureaucracy running. He will take what he wants, and I bet you he takes your best. He will take your best. History, read about Corrie ten Boom. If you wrapped up in the same kind of thing, it was a whole bunch of, listen to what he did to the people in her thing. Within a day or two, he wanted them to go, took their best to feed his war machine. They were eating tulip bulbs by the time he was done with them. I would challenge you today. It's your God-given responsibility to vote. And if you don't vote and vote according to what God's word teaches you, you failed. You just failed. And you will end up, we will end up with a king that we don't like. that's doing all this stuff to us. You say, oh, that'll never happen here. Yes, it will, too. You can bet your Skippy it will. If we don't put sentinels at the door, somebody will break in. All the days of your life will be owned by that king. If we choose a different king, I'm going to start wrapping it up, that day will come. He says in 18, if we choose a different king, when that day comes, you will cry out for relief from the king you have chosen, but the Lord will not answer you in that day. If we choose a different king, that day will come. Is Jesus our king? I'm sad to say, I don't think Jesus is the king of this nation anymore. We are a minority. But we all have freedom. As we read earlier, he gave us freedom that set us free. We're all free to go share that king with somebody else, to share how good he is, to share how awesome this God is, to share his love and his compassion. I mean, we can do that. I was telling somebody earlier this week of my grandmother, we were talking about ambidextrous. She could write with either hand. And whenever she got old and the arthritis was bending her fingers up, she'd write with her right hand a little bit and then with her left hand a little bit. But she wrote somebody a letter every day. Every day she'd send Granddaddy to the mailbox with that stamp there. She didn't go herself. She wrote somebody a letter every day. This woman couldn't drive, but she could tell people about her God's love in a letter every day. Every day. We have no excuse. And I'm telling you, how you vote and how you live, it matters. How you vote, how you live is going to demonstrate how you vote. I think your values, what you value. Galatians 5, chapter 1. I'm going to read it one more time, then we're going to close. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by the yoke of slavery. It's already creeping in on me, y'all, this yoke of slavery. I don't know if y'all feeling it or not, but there was this law passed about how everybody in the nation should have health insurance. I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit. That's socialism at its finest. We should have a general welfare concern. We should, as a church.